Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Nerdwatch, the Game of Thrones podcast, where we talk about why there's no more walls. Now, what I mean by that is we'll get into it. I am your host, a.k.a. Austin, and my co-host, Josiah, my brother. How's it going?
How? Good.
How?
I probably shouldn't do that.
All right, so today, Sunday was the Game of Thrones season 7 season finale.
Mm-hmm.
So we got to see like our first full-length Game of Thrones. So it was an hour and 20 minutes long.
It was
now,
beautiful.
What's that?
It was beautiful.
Was it beautiful?
It was totally.
It was beautiful. Okay, so were you excited for this? I was excited the whole week for the season finale. So I was waiting the whole time. I was like, oh, come on, let's do this. I want to see what's going to happen.
I kept myself pretty in check with that. I didn't think about it enough to get super hyped, but I'm happy that it happened. I'm happy it's over. It sucks that we have to wait so long, but I'm almost like
Yeah.
It's like school, you know? You go to school for a while and you get done, you're just like, okay, I just gotta wait until it comes back. So, you know, I'll live with it. I'll live with it, but I'm excited to see the series end. I just don't know how excited I am about the TV's ending. And I'll explain for more once we start diving in more.
Okay, that's fine. All right, so let's get into it. Let's talk Starks.
Starks in Winterfell, or just Winterfell in general?
I think we should just talk about Winterfell in general. That's kind of more. This episode's really not like a house thing, pretty much, because it's a pretty big group of people. This is where the all-star cast finally gets to meet the other all-star cast. You know, so let's get to it. Okay, so in Winterfell, do you want to discuss what's happening in Winterfell?
Sure, I'll go ahead and go with this. So I think the first one we need to handle is the big death of the season. To be honest, there wasn't a lot of huge deaths. There was only 2, and one of them wasn't even an actor. And so we got the Littlefinger got fingered pretty hard. Pretty much what happened is you have a lot of set up this whole season with like a couple episodes ago, or even this episode, where you have this concept where you're like, oh, Sansa's getting pulled one over by Littlefinger. He's going to make her kill Arya. And after a couple more interactions between them all, you have a situation where all the lords are around a circle, and it's kind of like a judgment type deal that's happening. Sorry, a truck just flew by my house. And she starts accusing of all these crimes, and she's like, how do you plead, Littlefinger, or Lord Baelish? And it caught, Peter off guard. Like, I posted on the ClassyNerdTalk the whole, Joey from Friends doing the, like, double take. He's like, huh?
Oh, that was great.
Yeah, no, it was the exact thing.
Yeah.
And so they confront Lord Baelish, and he kind of denies it for a little bit, and then he's just like, none of you were there. And then Bran recounts exactly what happened at Winterfell. I'm sorry, on my end your video's lagging a little bit, so like you were stopped staring off into the distance. It was very majestic.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
For some odd reason, you're breaking in and out, but that's fine.
Okay. Well, we're just having technical difficulties
tonight. So.
Yeah. Anyways, that like a whole thing where Peter starts like freaking out. He's like, I deserve a trial, blah blah blah, and he pretty much gets told no by everyone. He then proceeds to grovel at Sansa's feet, and then Arya just ends it. And that's pretty much what happens at Winterfell for that reason alone. So awesome. First off, what did you think of how Lord Baelish went
out. So I actually talked to a guy at work about this, and he actually was a little upset about it a little bit. He was like, "Oh, he should have been punished," and blah 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 blah. And I was like, "Look," I was like, "they kind of just wanted to kill him to know he was dead, like to get it over with. Be like, look, he's dead. He did all these terrible crimes, and I knew from the get-go that he was gonna die. First, I just knew that Littlefinger was gonna die finally." Because it was setting it up, and but I was so happy that they put that dialogue in with Sansa where she's like, "Well, I'm not very smart, but I do catch on, and she kind of went through and was like, "Hey, you killed my aunt, you threw out the moon, what was it, the moon hole or whatever it's called,
door.
The moon door and stuff," and so they talked about that. I really, really liked the actor that played Peter. The reason why is he did really, really good on this scene. He did really well. I like his emotions that he showed because he was like bawling, like crying. He's like, "Sansa, please no," and Arya's just, she was like that, and Arya's like, just slits his throat. It felt good. Like it felt really good because the thing was, I don't expect people to torture like those people because they're good people that don't want to they have to do what they have to do, but they don't want to torture someone. Like Sansa's not Joffrey. If Joffrey was in that situation, Joffrey would have tortured that person or made their life a living hell.
Yeah.
Sansa was like, look, this person has to die because of his crimes. And they kind of give him that mercy. They just kind of just cut his throat, which is still not mercy in my opinion, but in some people's opinion, they'd think that Littlefinger went out little, too soft. I didn't think so. I thought it was a great way to kill Littlefinger, and it was a great scene. I really, really liked that scene, and it was great because it got to see more of Winterfell. But the best part that I liked was when Bran brought up about him and Ed Stark talking. Mm-hmm. He's like, "Yeah, you took the dagger to his throat and said you should never have trusted me." I lost. I was like, "Oh, Bran's bringing back the three-eyed raven to bring justice to people." So, but yeah, I think overall that was a really, really great scene. I loved how it was filmed.
I don't know. See, I wasn't too happy with it, and the reason why is he just. Again, I will say I feel like season 7 did a very bad job on continuity with people's personality and their knowledge. Like you have Tyrion constantly failing at thinking before his enemies, and you have Littlefinger just getting caught off guard. And not even 10 minutes prior to that scene, he says, "What do I always tell you? Think of the worst thing possible." And I'm like, in my head, this is the worst thing possible. How did you not think of this, Peter? Why did you not come up with a out? That was my biggest problem with the scene. But when it comes to him actually dying, what I wanted it to happen is he tells Sansa, he's like, "Please no," and then she's just like, "Nope, not happening." He goes to to the Eyrie guy, and he's like, "I'm the Lord of the Eyrie, take me back to the Eyrie and protect me." And he's like, "No, I'm not going to do that." I wanted to see Peter try taking off, running of some degree. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to see guards stop him. He freaks out, he turns around, and then Arya's there and she stabs him. Or better yet, what I really wanted her to do is she spins him around, kicks him down, puts the knife to his throat he did with Ed. And I wanted Sansa to start naming off I, Sansa Stark, Lady of Winterfell, and Regent to King Jon Snow, who's not here, this, sentence you to death and everything like that. And I wanted him to kind of just pleading out until Arya slit his throat. I wanted him to beg for his life, essentially. Because, like, what he did there I thought was a tactic to try and make them feel sorry for him to, like, get him off. I didn't actually feel like he was begging. He was freaking out. So that was my only problem with that scene. Other than that, I'm like, okay, I can deal with this. I did not expect Pierre Baelish to survive for another season. He kind of did his deeds. And you can't have a player like him during or after the long night. You know, they got to get rid of his type. They have to get rid of Cersei next. Or else they're going to have horrible problems after White Walkers are done. Alright, so now that we're done with Littlefinger's whole thing, we'll just transition real fast into a quick meme that happened near kind of the mid/end of the season. No, it was the end of the episode of Bran and Samuel Tarly meeting. So you have Sam and him meet, they talk a little bit, and you get two really cool scenes. One, you get kind of shown that Bran doesn't know everything. He just knows what he's watched. Because whenever he's like, oh, Sam is really the son of Rhaegar and Lyanna. And his name is Waters. And Sam's like, no, it's not. It's Targaryen. He's just like, no, the bastards' names are Water. He's like, no, they had their secret marriage proposal. Can you see that? And I love the fact that Samuel had to kind of tell him, like, hey, go see if you can see this. And he's like, yes, I see it. That kind of shows that Bran doesn't know everything. He just knows what he's seen or knows of. But he can see it. As well as, I love that, I've been seeing it all over the web, where it's just like, Bran's like, I'm the three-eyed raven. And Sam's like, okay. But what does that mean? And you're welcome, world. Because that's what everyone's been wanting to, like, ask him. Like, seriously, who is not the person who just asks, what are you? So what about you, Austin? What do you think about Sam and Bran?
I actually have a theory behind this. Like you said, it shows that Bran can only look at things if he knows what he's searching for. So I think that we're not getting all the puzzle pieces still yet, and I think my theory of another theory is actually leading up to this, and it kind of pinpointed it there when I saw it. I was like, look, he has to know what he's searching for. That's the reason why he didn't put two and two together, because he didn't search for that. So he has to search for what he's searching for. I think that's part of his power. But also, too, is what we got to see with that is it showed that Robert's rebellion was completely from a lie.
Well,
and that's
Robert didn't know. It was one of those situations where Robert's rebellion was kind of based on a lie because Leon and him loved each other and they married, but Robert didn't know that. He just was under the impression that she got kidnapped. If she would have done something, I think it would have de-escalated it quicker, but it didn't change the fact that the Mad King was mad and it was a means to the end.
So, but overall let's move forward with Bran. Bran is shown next to the tree, and he's having a vision, and then we'll get back to that, what that vision is that he's seeing, or the present. So let's move into what's the next thing we got on our list? It's
King's Land.
King's Land?
Yep. We're going to King's Land, and the first thing we're going to do when we jump into King's Land is we're going to first talk about the reunions, because that whole part was just Reunion Fest USA, or Westeros, if you call it that. So, Austin, go ahead and talk about your favorite reunion that was presented.
Okay, so the first reunion we get to see is the first people to be reunited was actually, I'm thinking, I think it was, I always get his name wrong. It's not Bran, it's
Bronn.
Jaime's right-hand man now.
Bronn.
Bronn got reunited with Tyrion, and also he's the one that reunited everyone else. He's like, oh yeah, and your friends already arrived. My favorite reunitement was actually Gendry and Lord Tyrion. I really, or is that Gendry?
And no, it wasn't Gendry. You're thinking Podrick.
It wasn't Gendry. It was
Podrick.
Podrick. I always get those two mixed up because they look almost the same. Podrick, I really like that because Podrick was like his squire for like ever. Mm-hmm. Well, he was like a servant, and
he was a squire.
You know, the memes, yeah. So I really liked that whole thing. He's like, you know, I always consider you my lord, and he's like, and I have too. And I also liked Tyrion and Bran. Bran, is it?
Bronn.
Bronn. I like their reunitement. Sorry, I always get those mixed up because everyone's got like a B name or a D name in Game of Thrones. But I like those two, how they interacted, because he was like, look, you know, I missed you a long time now, old friend. He's like, I missed you. He's like, well, whatever they're paying you, I can pay double. And he's like, what are they, you know, I forget who said it, but he's like, what are they trying to pay you? Like someone said that.
Viserys asked him, he's like, so how much are they paying you?
Oh, so, yeah. So that overall, I really like those two reenactments. And then I have to say probably my last one is Brienne of Tarth and the Hound. Because her face was the best face I've seen. Because like she was like, looks over at the Hound looks at her, and she's like, she was like, oh, wow. She's
I feel like that's her resting face. Like she kind of has that resting face of the what's going on. Okay, no, I understand that.
Those are the ones.
Yeah. I did like Brienne's and the Hound's interaction, because you got to see how much the Hound's changed. Like if you watch him in the first like 3 seasons up to like when he supposedly dies, his character is completely different. How he acts and everything. Like he still has the Hound feel, but he isn't the jerk that the Hound was. Yeah, a lot of the reunions that you got, like the little small ones, were very nice. I really enjoyed for the quick snippet that was the Euron and Theon reunion after what happened on the ship, where like he walks up, sees him, he kind of laughs, and then he goes off whenever they're about to begin and kind of like taunts Theon. It was definitely one of those things where he's no longer a like scary villain. He isn't like the mad plot thinker villain. He's just kind of like that crude tier 2 boss fight that you don't want to really deal with. You're like, okay, I gotta kill you before I can get to the boss, so let's just get this over with. Or at least that's how he is in my head. So probably most likely Theon will be the one who kills Euron. Is how I'm feeling it. But I enjoyed that. But my favorite one was the Hound and the Mountain. And the reason why is I was surprised the Hound was so calm when looking at him. Because, like, it's Zombie Mountain. It's not just normal mountain. It's Zombie Mountain. And he's just like, you know how it's going to end. And he's like looking at him. He's just like, what the heck did they do to you? He's like, you probably don't even like remember.
You look uglier than me.
Yeah, he's like, now you look uglier than me. Yeah. But I definitely like that. And I think my number one favorite, it's not even a reunion. It's a little thing that Bronn said to Tyrion after him and Podrick met up. He's like, hey, you can question him about his golden slong later, or his magical slong later, or something like that. Referencing back to what Podrick did to the wenches at the brothel. So I really like that. All right, so let's go ahead and go into what happened at the summit meeting. How'd you think it went down? You think it went down pretty well?
I think it went down pretty well. The key moments that I remember, the big things I remember has to probably be the Mountain and the Hound talking. The part where the Hound looks at the Mountain, he's just like, you're uglier than I am. And then he says, something's coming for you, and you've known all along it's been coming for you. And I think I have a theory on what that is. But the thing is I really like that interaction that they had together. because it was something that you didn't expect the Hound, like what you said, that it was really lighthearted for the Hound to do something like that. There for a while, when he brought out the, he kind of like, I liked how the Hound entered, coming back to bring the white. He was like, he kind of looked like Hodor, carrying Brain. Like he was like, boom, boom. And then he just throws that box over. And two things that popped in my head. At the beginning, before this happened, there was a part where he lets like one of the Lannister guards look at it, and he was like, hey, what's in the box? And like the Hound's like, F off, kind of just said that. And then the last shot we see is like the like one of the guards looking at it and was like, So I was like, oh man, they let that white out. I was like, he's probably let it out or something. But the part where he opens up the box and he flips the box and the white comes out, and it's like has the chain on his neck, and it comes up to Cersei and it's like, and just starts biting. The other thing that I liked before we go into that is how Daenerys showed up, because the thing is Cersei finally got to see a dragon. She also noticed that one of the dragons were missing. But I loved it because she knows now that Jaime isn't lying. Like, this is a serious game now with Daenerys. So when she came in flexing her muscles with her dragons, it was like, walked off. And then Aegon said his thing to Theon. And then Tyrion, started talking. Everyone else did. But everything went down like I expected. There's just one thing I didn't expect, and that was Jon Snow's response to Cersei. I didn't expect that to happen, and I love it actually that he did that. But it kind of like really messed him up. But also too is it showed Cersei that these things are real. Jaime's face when he first saw the white come out, he was like, oh wow, they're not telling us lies. This is not mythical creatures, So right then when I saw that picture, like that face of Jaime, I realized real quick, I was like, Jaime knows. Jaime knows there's a real threat, and he knows that this is the serious thing he's got to deal with right now. He doesn't have to deal with anything else. So what did you think about that? Did you like how it went down at all, or?
So I'm going to rant here for a second. Not bad rant. It's so I was fine with how
everyone turn down your computers.
No, I was fine with what happened. I liked the little suspense they did with like the box when it first got undone. I loved the fear in Cersei's eyes. Like Leah Healy, the woman who plays Cersei, did a fantastic job of showing like true fear. I did like how they had Euron kind of like, well, okay, screw that. See you guys later. They can't swim. And he left. I like that. And you find out that it's a rouge later on. But it's still one of those things, like, it made sense for what he did. I liked even more that Qyburn, like, the second he saw it, he ran up and grabbed, like, that bone. And he was, like, staring at it, like, what is this? Like, this isn't any type of medicine or anything like that. This is legit magic. And that was, like, his focus. And that's why he got kicked out of the Citadel, was for that stuff. So I'm like, of course he's going to be fascinated with it. I wonder if that would be a negative to times to come.
Because Cersei might have an army.
No, I don't see that happening, dude. I don't see that at all. I see bad things happening for her. Then like the whole the King of North can't take any sides type deal. Cersei's pretty much saying that to kind of like force one side to be neutral. It's like, make this a fight between me and Daenerys. I have a chance. Make it a fight against me, Daenerys, and the King of North. I don't have so much of a chance anymore. I still have a chance, but not as much. I don't think she has a chance regardless. Just I think she knew that Daenerys wasn't trying to conquer as much as she is trying to take control. But that whole thing happens. She pretty much says no dice, and she runs off. And Brienne gets a very cool scene with Jamie where she's like, this can't be it. You have to do it. And he's just like, you've seen that. You've seen what it is. And he's like, what about your honor or loyalty or whatever? And she's like, screw loyalty.
Says, I'm loyal to my friend.
Yeah.
And she's like, loyalty.
Yeah, this isn't about houses or anything like this. This is about living versus death.
This is about survival.
Yeah. And so I really liked that. I loved how Cersei was looking back at him whenever like that happened. Mm-hmm. But then she runs off, and Tyrion gets the idea. I'll go talk to her. Essentially, when he said that, I knew that they were trying to play off the whole process of, oh no, Tyrion's going to die or something like that. You know, he could get killed here. And I didn't see that happening. Mm-hmm. I'm like, oh no, I doubt it. And Cersei, when Tyrion and Cersei meets, it is a great scene, absolute great scene. That was a scene from like the original Game of Thrones I missed. Like in season 3 and 4, like when all the big stuff was happening, kind of like plotting and everything happened, those were the type of scenes I really got used to in Game of Thrones. They kind of lost that in this season and a little bit last season, because they have to go with more action.
Yeah.
Because we're reaching the end of it and it's becoming more action focused. But the scene was amazing acting done on everyone. But I love how Cersei faked Tyrion out with the whole stomach. He's like, "You're pregnant." He freaked out. Because you find out later that she kind of did that on purpose to get her back in there. It was all planned on Cersei, which touche Cersei for planning this out. And so I want to ask you a question, Austin. The baby, Cersei's baby. Do you think she's pregnant? Do you think she's lying about it? Or what do you think will come of her baby?
Okay, so actually I've really been thinking about it for the last 2 days. Mm-hmm. I've really been thinking about this a lot because the number one thing that we know is Cersei has to die. But
Does she?
She has to.
Why?
In my opinion, Cersei has to die.
Okay.
That's how I feel. That it can't go any further unless you do that. But the biggest problem I have is, I think that actually what's going to kill her is the baby. I think the baby is real. Mm-hmm. And I think when she gives birth to the kid, it's going to kill her. And why I mean by that is because in the prophecy that woman says, the
Valonqard prophecy, yeah.
Yeah, and which actually isn't that word Valonqard? Isn't that translated to little brother or something?
Yeah, it means little brother. Yep.
And I think that didn't mean to be like Tyrion or Jaime or anyone like that. It's actually little brother, which means the littlest brother of Tomlin, Joffrey, and all of them. So it's the littlest one that kills her. I think that's what it is, in my opinion. I think that baby giving birth is actually going to kill her, and that's how she's going to die. Or it could be, Jaime. But that's how I feel. I think that's what it is. So I do think that there is a baby, and I think that's what's going to happen. So
okay. I respect that. I was having that same thought process during the episode, because I'm like, if she is pregnant, and it is a boy, and she dies giving birth to it, it would be like a double meaning, because it's like, oh, this whole time you thought it would be one of her brothers, but in fact it was the youngest brother of her kids that killed her. The other thing is it would be kind of like a tip of the hat to her mother, who died giving birth to the youngest, which was Tyrion, in birth. So it would be kind of like that, repeat of history that's most people tend to find poetic. I like that the big thing, Asami wants to say that there isn't really a baby, and that she was using this because she knew that Jaime and Tyrion would fight for that baby. Because, like, Jaime was kind of like, I'm not really for all this stuff until she's like, I'm pregnant. And then he just became, like, full-on devoted to her pretty much up to that point. Now, I know that he was kind of falling away, but I felt like he reinstated his devotion towards her. But, who knows? That I don't see super possible. But I'm not throwing that outside of the realm of possibility of the baby not being real. And that kind of drives Jaime to kill her or something to that degree. I think it would be much more poetic if the baby kills her. For what is all for all purpose. So pretty much after that, we get, she agrees, and all of them jump into a boat to sail off to White Harbor to meet up and then go to Winterfell. Let's hurry up and jump on to the Greyjoys, because we get, like, it's not like a super big scene, but it's a little bit of a scene. We get Jon and Theon talking for the first time since Jon pretty much told him, like, I would kill you if I didn't know what you did for her. And Jon kind of tells her, he's like, hey, listen here. You don't have to choose between Stark and Greyjoy. You will always be Ned's son. And that kind of gives Theon, like, the strength he needs to, like, yes, I have to go get my sister. It's what Ned would do. And I think that's going to pay, like, homage to Jon when he finds out about his Targaryen heritage. He's like, yeah, I may be a true Targaryen, but I am a Stark. I was raised by Ned Stark. I am a Stark. I think that's going to play a big part in it. So if he gets legitimatized or gets chosen to be legitimatized, I think he would probably pick the name Stark versus Targaryen. And even if he finds out his real name is Aegon, he may just keep with Jon because he's like, that's too regal of a name for me. If he decides to take the name, I can't say nothing about it. But whatever. We also get quick boat sex scene between Jon and Daenerys. What did you think was happening in Tyrion's mind when he was kind of creeping on those two in the cabin?
Well, let me state my theory here. A potential spoiler for season 8. I think that Daenerys is going to be pregnant.
Mm-hmm. I think it's either that she's going to get pregnant or there's going to be like a pregnancy scare type deal, because they were just really hammering it in the head this whole season with, she can't have kids, she can't have kids, I can't have kids, these are my children, I can't have kids.
Well, I think, and that's one of the theories that I want to touch base on, is one of my theories that I've been having since the first episode of the season is, I think the only way that you can make a baby for Daenerys is you have to be Targaryen blood. And I think that's going to, like, lead into that with, like, the blood scene, because of pure blood Targaryens. And Targaryens believed in having a pure bloodline, I'm pretty sure. In the books they talk about how they, like, kept it kind of, you know, in the family. So
yeah.
It doesn't really bother me. Like, a lot of people are bothered by this. I'm not really bothered by it, because, like, if you know your medieval, like, historical anyways, or if you know anything about your history, like, people were in families, like, doing that forever, so it doesn't bother me.
At least to the degree that Dan and John's doing. Like, the brother and brothers is looked like, down upon, but uncles and cousins and everything was actually pretty common.
Yeah, so that's something that's common. The thing is I want to say, is Tyrion knows that Jon and her love each other, and I think he knows that they're meant to be together. I I have so many theories about this, and I don't want to ruin it. And because also too is if you don't know this, since Game of Thrones has ended, we're going to keep doing podcasts, and we're going to go over a couple theories, some of the thoughts that we go through. So I'm not going to spoil on this one what I think about, but I think Tyrion actually knows about what Jon and Daenerys are doing. So I think it will lead to like them.
I think it was pretty obvious.
Pregnant. Yeah.
I don't think whenever Jon went into her room, they're like, oh, they're just playing Twister. I'm pretty sure he's like, yeah, they're playing Uno under the sheets.
Patty cake.
Patty cake.
Patty
Patty
cake.
cake. Yeah.
Patty cake. Patty cake.
No, I don't think that's much of a filler. Okay, we'll wait until next week's theory crafting to talk about that one then.
Really appreciate that.
I totally forgot.
I really appreciate it.
I totally forgot. We were mentioning we were mentioning Theon, but I forgot to mention the whole fight scene, the Fight Club with Greyjoys. What'd you think of that scene? Did you like it?
Yeah.
What'd you like about it?
Okay. Funny. I thought it was hilarious.
It was pretty funny. I'll agree on that.
The part, especially when he goes to kick him in the nuts, right in the junk. Don't even affect him. And like I remember because little Dakota was over here watching it with me, and I'll never forget it because I looked and I was like, you know what he's thinking right now? He's probably like, this is the worst thing that could ever happen to me when he was getting his junk cut off. And then now he's like, oh, I know my special power. I know my place in the Greyjoy community, and I can take blows to the blow part. So like, I thought it was really funny because they like kick him and he was like, it kind of reminded me of the Mr. Deed scene with the lady from like the pizzeria.
Yeah.
Where she's like, I ain't got nothing down there. It kind of reminded me of that because it was just so ridiculous. You didn't expect it. But also, too, I love this scene. The reason why I really like the scene was because it showed, it's showing Theon who he needs to be. And it's showing Theon that this is the Theon that needs to be a Greyjoy. This is him being a Greyjoy, being someone that's powerful and can take a stand for wrong. And also, too, is he's showing his place as a Greyjoy. That's the biggest problem that he's had through all the seasons of Game of Thrones, was just he like kind of wimped out at everything. He really was a wimp. He played, from season 1 to this season now, he played that card so much. He was a coward. And then he was just, he didn't think really well. This time, I think he really thought well, and he realized who he is now. And it took him a long time to realize who Theon Greyjoy was. And I think his story is going to be great. I think he's going to become the person that we expected him to become. So,
okay. I'll say I didn't know how I felt about like him getting kicked in the junk, because under my perception on what I understood from like his interrogation with Ramsay is that all Ramsay did was cut off his manhood. He didn't cut off the two friends. He may have took Mr. Johnson, but he left the Juice Crew. And that's the thing that if you get hit on, it hurts. So like in my head, I'm just like, I think he would still get hurt there if he had that. But whatever, I guess he's just a Ken doll. I would expect
he got... Well, I actually expect that he did cut the junk, because I'm pretty sure if you would have cut that, it would have bled internally, which means that you have to cut that to sear that. So I'm thinking they cut all that off. But we don't know because we don't see it. So we don't know the whole...
The other thing is that, like, I'm not a, proprietor of that. So I don't even know, like, the mechanics of it. That's what I was thinking. But I like the whole scene...
If anyone on YouTube knows that, put it down in the comments. We'd really like to hear your input.
Okay.
Do you have to
rephrase
cut the
that
off with the
Austin
with the manhood?
Would like to know that. I could care less. But
I just want to know. I want to see. Do you have to cut that junk off? So.
He just wants to know for a friend. But no, I like the scene. I got hardcore flashbacks to Fight Club whenever he's on top of him punching him and dude gets blood on his face. I thought Theon was just going to start like spitting blood at him. But I really liked how after the fight, he goes into the water, lays down, and like splashes water on his face. I thought we were going to get a King's Moat stylization where he just goes straight into the water and then resurfaces later, like as if he drowned it and was reclaimed. But no, he just sat down, washes his face off, and kind of continue on, which had to sting like a mug. That freaking sucks. So, now that we got that, we can go to the end game, the wall. Austin, what did you think of the wall in the very final 10 minutes of the season finale, the big wall fall?
I can't, like, I'm with you on this, I'm pretty sure. I kind of felt that it was kind of a cheap way, in my opinion, how to bring the wall down, in my opinion. I just didn't like the whole premise of the dragon thing. Like, nothing against that, but the thing is like, like, the White Walkers was waiting for a dragon the whole time. That's the problem I have, is like, they were just like, well, sooner or later she's going to come over that wall with the dragon. That's what's going to lead to the wall coming down. We can't do anything, but that can. So, overall, like, was it a cool scene? Yes, it was awesome. It was everything I wanted. But overall, I was kind of felt like I was gypped out a little bit. So I'm just going to run through really quick what happened. So, Bran is at Winterfell, and he has a future vision, not a future vision, like, present vision. And we see Tom, I always get his name, Redbeard guy, Tomlin?
Austin, you just don't know people's names, period. Let's just accept this.
I don't.
Tormund.
It's terrible. Tormund and the other guy that got cut up all
Beric
the time.
Dondarrion.
There you go. See, you know the people, so you point those out. So they're up on top of the wall,
tiresome.
And they look down, and you can just see the Night King like coming in with like the whole White Walkers and
not the Night King, just the White Walkers.
Oh wait, no, it wasn't Night King. It was more the White Walkers, and they were all coming towards the wall. And then out of nowhere, you just see this dragon just come in. It just does a fire blast on the wall. And you're like, oh, dude, that's awesome. But what shocked me the most was he was riding it. So the reason why that shocked me the most is because someone brought up the theory at work today where he's like, the theory about the three-headed dragon. Like, we need 3 riders. So we have Daenerys, we'll have Jon, and now we have the White Walker King. Mm-hmm. And I was like, it's all right. Like, that's an all right theory. That's, it's kind of coherent theory. Like when you hear some of those theories, you're like, okay, I can see this. But overall, the scene, I was really upset because the dragon thing. But, the dragon ends up melting a hole pretty much, like, blocking it down. And then the whites come in and end scene. But they're marching. They're marching towards Winterfell. So that was the end of Game of Thrones Season 7. What do you think of that scene?
Okay, so now this is when people need to lower their mics, because I'm about to rant for a couple problems I have with this scene. One, the exact problem you had. What was the Night King's plan A? What was his plan A? Was his plan just to get to the wall and then like have all the giants just sit there and like slowly gnaw away at the wall? I'm like, what was the original plan? Granted, maybe his original plan was him to get those ice spears he had and just start chucking the wall until it breaks and falls. Who knows? I felt that was really dumb. Like, it made sense, like, once he got the dragons, like, oh yeah, this is what we're going to do. Just tear down the wall. But I really wanted his plan A, and I would have loved it if he had the Horn of Winter be his plan A, and then once he got the dragon, he didn't need it. But the other big problem I had was what the heck happened to the magic of the wall? Because through the whole series, anytime someone talks about the White Walkers, they're always like, there's strong magic preventing White Walkers and whites getting past the wall. And then the dragon just comes along, just destroys the wall, and they're like, okay, cool, the wall's gone, so we can walk through it. What about the magic? Like, you guys all good on that? Like, super frustrating. I know people are trying to, like, I don't want to say theory it out or explain it. They're just all in their head, like, oh, well, Bran passed the wall, that's probably what happened. Like, really, I feel like if that was the reason, they should have emphasized on that more. Like, as Bran was passing the wall, his arm starts hurting, and he, like, clenches it or something like that. But no, it didn't show any of that. Then other people are like, oh, maybe it's because of the dragon's breath or something like that. It destroyed the magic. I'm like, I would need reasons why that happened. Because all that I saw was a giant block of ice melting. And I'm like, there's no magic there. If there's no magic there, then that is the dumbest, stupidest thing ever. I was just really upset with that, and it kind of bared me out for the end there. It was a cool scene, yes, but the whole time I was just kind of salty. I'm just like, this is really what's happening. They're burning down the wall. It's so stupid. And then furthermore, I just find it funny that Tormund and Derek are just on top there. They're all like, oh crap, there's here. And then when the dragon comes in and starts burning the wall, Tormund's just like, screw it, run! He doesn't even try to like hold the line. He's just, go, run! So you don't know what happened to them. I'm sure that they're fine. They either ran across the other side of the wall or they got down in time. Who knows? I'm sure they're done. They wouldn't kill off Tormund and Beric that way. However, it may begin season 8 with them being captured and getting killed and turned into whites. Who knows? That may be how season 8 starts. But that's how I feel about the scene. I could continue to rant about the scene a little bit more and the stupidities that I felt during it, but that's pretty much the gist of it. So, Austin, now that we have that, any final thoughts?
Okay, so right now, I'm not going to go into what I'm thinking that season 8's going to be. We'll just keep doing podcasts of this, and then we'll talk about that later, so we can keep up the podcast.
Yeah.
And this one gets a little bit, we're close to probably almost an hour with this. So we're gonna, kind of keep it going. But let's review this a little bit. I see a lot of things happening that I think are going to happen. I'm excited for season 8. The biggest problem I have is we're probably not going to get season 8 until 2019.
I have heard that that's not true. I have heard that's been a rumor. That's not
true, and then I heard that it might come out in November.
I heard that they're starting to film in October, which means that we could have it mid-summer or late summer next year. But I hear that people are saying the rumor about late 19. I'm like, I'm okay with it coming out in 2019. I'm okay with the early 2019 if that means it's better quality. If it's worse quality and they're just trying to push it out, no, I'd rather wait. I've been waiting like 6 years for the books. I can wait an additional year for the TV show to wrap up nice.
But overall, so this week, who are you going to give it to?
So I naturally, in my head, who I wanted to give it to is Westeros in general. And honestly, I think I would give it more to Jon, because he's honestly the unifying factor of Westeros. Everyone's going to follow behind him, and I think Jaime's going to join him because Jaime's on his way north. Oh, we never talked about that, by the way. Jaime and Cersei scene.
Yeah.
But
Jaime.
Oh well, Jaime leaves Cersei, and I seriously for a second thought he was going to die. I really believed it for a split second, and then he walks out. So I'm glad he didn't. But I wanted
also, no, we have to say one other big thing. Winter finally came to King's Landing.
I mean, winter's been there. It's snow falling finally.
Yeah. So
it's not super big.
For King's Landing.
It's like they don't go by winter based upon like snowfall or anything like that. They go by a different section. And winter's been in King's Landing for a while. Just they're now having snowfall, which would freak me out, especially whenever you saw like a white. I just instantly assume, well, we're dead. But no, I originally wanted to give it to John and the unification of Westeros. Uh-oh. Seems like we dropped Mr. Austin. Or he dropped us. One of those two. Alright, cool. Oh, you're back. What happened?
I don't know. It just said an unexpected error happened, and it kicked me out.
Oh, well, welcome back. So, no, I wanted to give it to John and everyone for unifying the North, unifying Westeros for the most he could. Cersei is kind of screwed over with what's going on. She's not going to go with them. But I think John did as good of a job as he could do, per se, a Mad Queen. I wanted to give it to John, however, because what happened this episode was something that was foretold, not really foretold, but kind of foreshadowed for its like 6 seasons happened, and that was the wall coming down. So I'm willing to give it to the White Walkers, even though they did it in a way that was not satisfying to me. What about you, Austin?
Yeah. Well, you know, and like what we said, we talked about this, was I had to give it to the White Walkers because it's really, really hard not to give it to them. Yeah, it was kind of cheesy and a little like, you know, kind of cheap in my way. But I have to give it to the White Walkers because this is something that's like big. It's the biggest part of the thing. We've had the wall since season 1. It was supposed to protect us and keep, you know, it was supposed to keep the White Walkers out and everything and the Night King. And guess what? It finally fell. This whole time. It's kind of like the same thing when winter finally came. When winter finally came, it was like forever. We were waiting the whole time. And at that time, I would have gave it to, you know, the whole winter thing because we've been waiting for winter. So I'm going to have to give it to the White Walkers because they finally took down some of the wall. So now we can see the Whites come into Westeros, the real Westeros, and start wreaking havoc. So I'm going to give it to the White Walkers too.
All right. So we agree that the White Walkers have won this episode, season 7 finale. I think next episode what we should do, which by the way, I wanted to point out that our episodes from this point on, since it isn't going to be weekly shows of Game of Thrones, we're going to kind of sparse out our Nerd Talk episodes a little more. Probably like maybe once or twice a month. Nothing too big. If we come up with something or some big news comes out, we may do a quick podcast about that stuff, kind of talk through it. Hopefully at some point the book, like some details about the books come out and I can kind of talk about that. Hopefully Austin can catch up on the books or even listen or do something with the books to be able to equate with me about that knowledge. So, all right. I think that pretty much sums us up for today's episode of Nerd Talk. How about you, Austin? You ready to sign us out?
Yep, I'm ready to sign us out. Thank you for watching this whole season of, season 7. Did you enjoy season 7? Did you like the finale? You know, like, comment, share, subscribe. Put it down at the bottom. Did you really like the whole, you know, when the White Walkers took down the wall, or, you know, when the Mountain and the Hound, like, had their, you know, had that experience together? I really like that. But overall, I just want to say I'm excited for season 8 and can't wait. And I always want to thank Josiah for being my co-host here.
No problem. I'm always glad.
And just remember, our watch isn't over. Have a good night.
Good night.